What is up, guys? Paul here. I want to talk to you guys about how my marathon went. Today is November 30th, and I officially completed it 15 days ago. So I'm recording this 2.5 weeks after, or about 2 weeks after completion of it. But I just wanted to let you guys know how things panned out, what happened with my training with the 12-week program that I was doing, and kind of just talk to you guys about what it was like going into it, what it was like during and afterwards and whatnot. So I believe I recorded a video about 1 month prior to the date of the marathon. And I talked about how I had failed my 16-mile runs. And let me say that was when I really entered like my trial season with training and whatnot. And I remember I completed, it was 3 weeks prior, I completed my first 16-mile run. And I think I did that twice. And then 1 week prior to doing the marathon itself, I was going for a 22-mile run. I said, okay, the longest that I've ever done up until this point is 16. Let me tack 6 more miles onto that and do 22. And then the following week, I'll do 26.2. And that should be good. So the night that I went for, I should say the evening that I went for my 22-mile run, well, hit another brick wall. I got to 17 miles. And it was even nighttime when I was like finishing it up. And I was dragging my feet so bad on that 17-mile run, like near the end, that one of the pieces of the sidewalk was actually raised and I actually fell down, which was kind of funny, but to me it just showed me how bad I was dragging and whatnot. So in that night, I remember I was like, okay, I would have completed the 22 if I didn't have the marathon the next week, but I was like, I don't know if I will risk an injury for the 22. So I was like, okay, I'm going to eat it on this one. I failed again. Just like I had with my, 16-mile runs. I failed on my 22. I was 5 miles away. And I was like, okay, next week I'm going to get 26.2. Okay. Here was the big epiphany moment. And I don't know how I didn't think of it sooner. I don't know how I didn't think of it sooner. So going into my marathon, I knew I was going to have to have proper nutrition. So of course I'm looking up different things from different people, like how do you, not run out of energy for the stuff besides sucking the goos and drinking the sugar water and all that stuff during the marathon. Like, what should I do prior? And so I found this one video. It was talking about carb loading 4 days prior and just, keeping your carbs in surplus and whatnot. And that should be good and whatnot. So that's what I did 4 days prior. I felt really, really good leading up to it and whatnot. And then on Sunday, November 15th, I went out for my marathon. And I actually had to travel to Gainesville from Palm Coast. So I didn't start my marathon, I think, officially until like 12:40 or something like that. So it was pretty much peak heat moment of the day. I think from like 12:30 to 3:30 is like the hottest moments of the day. And this one was in the 80-something degrees, I believe. So I was like, all right, going for it. And now I'll talk to you like a little bit about how my marathon itself went and what I was facing, like what went across in my mind and everything and whatnot. So I think going into the marathon itself, I knew I was going to complete it regardless if I had to walk. I didn't care how long it took. Obviously, I wanted to hit closer to my pacing that I was doing during my workouts, but I was like, either way, I just want to complete it. And so I set off for the journey, and I think it was 8.5 miles in, I reached my first station, I guess you could say. I had my parents meet me 8.5 miles out. I got some liquids and whatnot, made sure I was amped up on that, and kind of just set out. And, it was real interesting for me because at about the 10 to 15 mile mark for me was when I dragged the most. And when I was doing my training, I was doing half marathons in about 2 hours, a little bit under the 2 hour mark. But on this one, because I knew that I was going to go all 26, I think when I reached my mile 13.1, I think that was at about the 2.5 hour mark. So I was like, okay, I'm on pace for about 5 hours. We'll see how this goes, but right now I'm on pace for 5 hours. But like I said, when I was on that 10 to 15 mile point, it was like 10.2 to 15.6 or something like that. That was the hardest, absolute hardest part of the race for me. Because I had been out there running for just over 2 hours at that point, and at like the 10 point something mile point, and it was extremely hot, and I was like, dang, I'm not even at the halfway point. Once I got to the half marathon point, that encouraged me a little bit, but not a whole lot, because I was like, now I got to do this all again. And like I said, that was at about 2.5 hours. So I made it back to 15.6 miles, and we did another station and whatnot. I got myself a banana. I got a different shirt, changed out my socks, because obviously I was completely soaked and whatnot. So that did feel good to have that, kind of fresh change there. And I think I rested for about 5 minutes or so at the 15.6 mile mark. After that, I went to mile 17.2. I got one more station in there because I knew I would have a 6 mile stretch, at least for where we were. They couldn't come to me sooner. So I got one more little drink in there, and then I set out. And at this point, the strategy that I was using, because I was pretty tired, but I was mentally really, really okay. And to me, that was a really good sign, because on the other times that I did my long runs, mentally I saw myself breaking down, even though I was pushing through. On these, my body was really tired, and I don't know if it was just because of the heat or what, but my body was really tired, but mentally completely fine, and I had no doubt whatsoever that I was going to finish. My body was just dragging a little bit, like I said, possibly because of the heat, or I don't know. But the strategy that I was using at this point was like a 0.6, 0.7 run, 0.3 walk. And so I was doing that for up until mile 23. And it was interesting. From what I was watching before, it seems to be at around mile 18 that people hit a wall. For me, it was when I broke through the wall. My wall was, like I said, 10 to 15.6. At 18.1 or something that I remember, I was just like, oh my goodness, I only have 8 more miles to go. That's just over an hour. Okay, great. Probably around an hour and a half. And I was like, okay, this is actually really exciting. And so for me, I kind of broke through that. Like I said, I was doing like 0.7 run, 0.3 walk, somewhere in that. Sometimes I would do 0.6 and then 0.4 and whatnot. But once I got to mile 23, it was mile 23.1 or something like that. I got my next station, and I got my liquids, and I think ate another half banana or something like that. And that was kind of a breakthrough moment. I looked better at coming into mile 23 than I did at coming into mile 15. Like my strides were longer, my spirits were higher. Obviously, mentally I was doing better and whatnot. But it was really, really fascinating, because I was like, wow, I literally only have about a 5K left, and then I'm about to complete my first marathon ever. And at this point, it had gotten dark, and so I was like, okay, I got about 30 more minutes, and then I'll be done. And it was really cool, because my friends actually met me out at about 2.5 miles, 2 miles left, and ran the last little bit with me. So I absolutely was on runner's high. But then after that, of course, I was very, very encouraged as well. And then, of course, the mental game of this, it just shows you how much endurance is mental. Is I started my strides were picking up like crazy. And, when I should be most tired, that's when, of course, strides are going and I'm just running, and, there was a lot of joy. And, the part that was interesting to me was actually how emotional it was when I finished it. I think mainly because it was like, wow, 11 weeks ago, I was not running, 3 miles a week, like official running. Maybe I was doing it in different games and whatnot, but, officially whatnot. And I started out at, 14 miles and 18 miles and 20-something miles. And then to think, man, I really just completed a marathon. So to me, it was just one of the most encouraging emotional things, breaking through those paradigms, just in my own mind. And it was a very, very emotional moment for me. My dad ran the last 0.3 with me. Like I said, I had friends that came out and met me during the night, and they ran the last little bit with me. So it was just a really, really cool thing. One, hats off to Stu, just reading his book, following that. I didn't follow it to the T and whatnot, but it still was my guidelines for the training. And I think reading that book really put me in the right mindset and whatnot. So anyways, just wanted to give you guys a completion to all the update videos that I was doing, let you guys know how it went. I think my official finish time was like 5:18 or somewhere around there, 5:18, 5:20. I was doing about a 12:15 pace over the course of the whole thing. Of course, it changed and whatnot throughout the whole race, but I think I finished with about 12:15. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Always room for improvement, of course, but yeah, very, very cool experience. And we'll see what the next goals and the next breakthroughs of paradigms that I'm going to be doing and whatnot. But yeah, I just wanted to record this video as a completion for the marathon updates. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one.